Good afternoon, everybody. This is the second in our Balanced Living lecture series. This is put on by the Health and Wellbeing Committee. We formed about a year ago in an effort to address attorney health and well-being, but also attorneys in crisis or in periods of transition. In a way, our mission is kind of to support those things that the Ohio Lawyers Assistance Program does, but in a preventative manner. So today, we're glad to have with us Dave Dickey, who used to play for UC basketball, right?
My father played at UC. I was in Indiana.
Indiana. I didn't know that. Yeah, I do know where that is. And one of our members of our committee, Jim Bogen, who is not in the room right now, but will be shortly, I'm sure, to do a demonstration on how to make fitness fit into your life. And some of you may be wondering, how does this really fit with the mission of the committee? Physical health is as important as your mental health, and a lot of us sit all day long. Most of our exercise is running the steps at the courthouse, if that, or getting to a meeting, or like me, driving in my car to get to a meeting and being 5 minutes late today. So the purpose of having fit is so that you can integrate it into your life. And my own personal experience is I started my own firm almost 4 months ago. And before that, I didn't have an exercise program, and I worked all day and would go home and take a nap, and then I would work some more, and then I would go to bed, and I'd get up and do it all over again. And so when I started my own practice, I was like, I am going to make myself have regular fitness. So I started Pilates classes, and I was like, oh, wow, there are things that hurt that I didn't know were there for a while. And because I'd had an injury to my ankle, it made doing a lot of other activities really, really hard. And so now I don't wear orthotics anymore. I can walk better. I can move better. I still go twice a week, and someone who's in the office across the hall from me can attest. I just drop what I'm doing and I go. So it's important to find a way to schedule yourself time for yourself, and whether that is mental or physical, I would hope that today most of us leave here with the idea that we can fit into our lives. So Mr. Bogen and Mr. Dickey, here you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm not going to bore you all with a rundown of all the details about how there's the benefits of exercising. I think if you're here, you already know most of them. We all know it improves your appearance, first of all. That's the first thing you hear about when you see ads for health clubs on TV or read magazines. It improves your appearance. But what's more important is what it does to the rest of you. Obviously, it helps you mentally, improves your mood, improves your energy, improves your confidence, helps you function much better in stressful situations. In this profession, that's particularly important. Just makes you all around mentally sharper. Also the physical benefits, the health benefits, I think those speak for themselves. And the thing is, Tabitha talked about this too, two of the most important things are making the time and learning how to do it correctly. Making the time, you hear it all the time. People are saying stuff like, oh, I don't have the time, oh, I'm too busy, oh, I'm too tired, oh, this, oh, that. Well, the thing I've learned, I know I go through this myself. When I get home from the office at the end of the day, there are days when I just want to stay on that couch. I don't want to get up. But the thing I've learned is when I'm feeling like that, is to ignore that feeling and having the confidence that when I get to the gym and when I get going into my workout, get the blood running, I'm going to feel great, and after my workout, I'm going to feel a heck of a lot better than I ever would have if I had stayed home on that couch. And the other thing, making the time, it's just we all schedule things into our lives all the time. Our lives are pretty much ruled by calendars. Just as you schedule a meeting or something else, you schedule that time where you go to the gym. It's something where you absolutely need to learn to do that. And it's not just a scheduling thing or making the time, it's a lifestyle thing. You need to make that part of your daily routine, just like getting up and eating breakfast. Going to bed, that's part of our routines. Exercise fits right in there. And then the other thing, too, is that not only making it a part of your life, but learning how to do it correctly. And that's why we have David here today, because he's a trainer and I'm not. I'm just a gym rat. But anyway, how many people here have ever watched pro se litigants in court? How many of them thought they looked really good arguing their case in court? I thought so. Well, the same way, the thing I've seen in the gyms, David's seen a lot of this too, seeing somebody go to the gym who doesn't know much about anything, who doesn't take the time to learn how to do things correctly, often looks like a pro se litigant in court. Kind of wandering around aimlessly, kind of dabbling with this machine, that machine, no set routine, and then they don't see much on results, and a lot of times, unfortunately, they just quit. And one of the biggest things about staying on a routine and learning how to do it correctly is you'll see better results, and you'll be more encouraged to stick to it, and you can enjoy the benefits of exercising. But anyway, now I'll give the floor to David.
Thank you all for coming out. Thanks, James. Just to give you guys kind of a little bit of a background on myself. I played high school basketball at Anderson High School over on the east side. Was fortunate enough to play college ball for 4 years. After I finished playing college basketball, I snapped my Achilles, which kind of cut my career a little bit short. And to give you a little bit of a testament to how being in good shape really helps, when I tore my Achilles, they told me it would be probably at least 6 to 9 months before I thought about stepping on a basketball court again. Me being the fanatic that I was / idiot, I played in the game 6 weeks after my surgery. Wasn't the smartest thing in the world, but I did it. Played well. Team won the game. Kobe Bryant just suffered the same injury. His wasn't quite as bad as mine because my calf actually rolled up my leg. His was just a partial tear. So everybody questions whether he'll be back. He'll be back. But I also had heart surgery back in 2001. A lot of people say, oh, heart surgery, you'll never do this. Please. I'm a gym rat. I've always been a gym rat, and I'll never stop being a gym rat until they close every gym ever made. Then I'll do it at home. But my father was a former professional basketball player. He played high school basketball at Purcell High School, graduated from University of Cincinnati, and was fortunate enough to play for the Golden State Warriors and Chicago Bulls for a few years. He had a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was in his neck. They did a radiation treatment, a deteriorated artery in his neck, which actually caused him to have a stroke. And if it wasn't for the physical condition that he was in, he actually laid by himself for 12 hours. He would have died right then. They told us when he got to the hospital, your father's going to die. He didn't. He's stubborn. He's an athlete. So he was completely paralyzed down his left side. They said, Derek, you'll never walk again. He walked out of the hospital. His speech was ridiculously horrible. Derek, you'll never go back to broadcasting again. He went back to broadcasting again. And when my career ended, that's what turned me into the gym, because I could see the importance of people being healthy, people being fit. I just had a woman come into the gym today, and she couldn't have picked a better day to come back to the gym. But she was in the hospital for 2 months, and she had some type of surgery that caused her ridiculous amounts of bleeding. She had to have 24 units of blood pumped into her body. Her doctor said if you were not in the physical condition you were, you would have died on the table. So, just things like that from a personal standpoint, that's why I like to stress health and fitness. Take aside the looks and all that stuff. That's an added benefit. But the fact that you can be here to see your kids grow up, your grandkids, things like that, it makes a world of difference. You guys work in a very stressful environment. Matter of fact, anybody that has a job works in a stressful environment. So we all need stress relief. Great place to do that, like James said, is in the gym. We have something in common. Both of us lost our fathers at an early age. What do? Went to the gym. That's the best way we knew to get it out. So there's ways you can deal with everyday life and release that stress, so that way you're not bottling it up. I wish they would not get rid of gym classes, you know, because now all these kids are starting to go crazy in school. They don't have a release. You know, they keep everything bottled up, and then they release it in a very bad fashion. So, you know, exercise, wellness, nutrition. I hate the word diet. Diet's one of the worst words you can do. I tell people all the time, there's a reason that word starts with die. You know, if you want it to be a permanent change, it's got to be a permanent change. You know, you can't just diet. You know, they're temporary fixes. There's no magic pill. There's no magic machine that you're going to buy online or on TV. The Abdominizer, Ab Lounge, all that is bull. All those people are paid actors. Some of them appear on the same commercial for different things. You know, but they're paid actors. So if you want overall fitness, you need overall fitness. You know, a lot of us can't make it to the gym, and I totally understand that. You know, they say, oh, I'm gonna buy a treadmill. I recommend not doing that. You have the ability to walk outside for free. Utilize it. You know, there's a lot of different things that we can do in our everyday life to help get us where we want to be. One of the main things you do a lot is sit down. You know, I'll give you an example, and then James and I'll start dabbling into a few of the tools that we have over there. You know, one of the things we do, we come to our desk and we go, plop, sit down on our desk, and we work on our computers, whatever it is. You know, a couple things we can do. Every time you go to sit down, you sit down, stand up. Sit down, stand up. Just do it 10 times. Every single time you sit down, imagine how many squats you're going to get in a day. You know, that's more calories you're going to burn doing something simple. You know, you can do little things. Instead of taking the elevator every time, take the stairs. You know, I understand some of you may work on the 82nd floor or whatever it is. Walk as far as you can, then take the elevator. You know, and then every week or so, try to go one more floor. Just challenge yourself a little bit more. We just need to be a little more active every single day. I brought a few modalities here that are simple things. You know, if you can't make it to the gym, you know, a lot of gyms will have some of these tools, but if you can't make it to the gym, these are some simple things that you can do at home. You can do them on the road, you can do them in the office, but these are, we're gonna have a little fun with a couple of these and see what we wanna do. We'll start with the good old-fashioned medicine ball, which everybody's familiar with the medicine ball. Just a slightly weighted ball. That one's only 2 pounds. You know, they go all the way up to, I've seen them as heavy as 100 pounds. You know, obviously you don't need to use those just yet. But, you know, you can do simple things. If you have somebody with you, just pass it back and forth.
The chest pass.
Yep. It's just a simple kids game. You know, we all did this as little kids, and we play roll back on the floor, you know, but just little things like this.
Squat to it too.
You can add just little things at home, you know, and then you can do just overhead tosses. I don't know if any of you ever played soccer. I played 9 years of soccer. Just a basic throw-in. You know, all the things that we're kind of getting away from as kids, you know, what we're doing is we're sitting our kids in front of computers. We're sitting them in front of iPads, iPhones, this, that. You know, I think everybody needs more exercise.
And you can do these without a partner too.
Yep.
If you just have a wall, you can do the chest pass on the wall. You can do an overhead pass. We used to do this when I swam at UC. If we didn't have a partner, we had to use the wall. And do this on the wall.
You can even do a high squat toss, just to kind of change angles. You know, one thing, if you do squats on your own outside of a gym, anytime you do a squat, a lunge, anything like that, when you squat, you always want to make sure your weight stays back on your heels and your knees don't come up past the tip of your toe. What that does is actually put too much pressure on your patella tendons, and you can actually wind up damaging your knee. So when you sit, your weight goes back. You know, almost like you're trying to reach for a toilet that you're not quite sure where it is. So you just kind of hover and reach. Another thing we have, basic Swiss ball or stability ball. And they come in a variety of different sizes. Obviously, since I bought the small one, he gets to use it. But, you know, I mean, a lot of people have a fear, oh my gosh, it won't hold me. These things, they can hold quite a few 100 pounds. You know, I've been on them with 100-pound dumbbells. Not going to break. So James is going to demonstrate a couple things here. We can just go ahead and sit on top. And we're just going to do a basic bicep curl.
Both at the same alternating? Or?
We'll do both at the same time.
Okay.
You know, obviously he's got these big, heavy 3-pound weights here. You know, from there, you can actually rotate them up. And we're going to a shoulder press. Just nice straight up. You know, there's a variety of different things you can do, but just sitting on that ball alone is going to help work your core. You know, so if you spend a lot of time sitting at a desk, if you work in a kind of relaxed environment where they're not too touchy about what you sit on, you can actually get a ball like that to sit on at your desk. You know, whenever I do computer work at the gym, I sit on the ball. You know, and then you wind up rolling your hips from side to side, and you'll get bored and start bouncing. But it's more movement than you're doing just sitting in a chair.
And you want to keep your posture good on these things.
Absolutely.
Too.
That's one of the main things that these help with is your posture, because it works on your spinal erectors and everything, so you actually have to sit up. One of the worst things we have is posture. Everybody sits like this. You know, that's why you get people when they get older, they start walking hunched over like that. Nobody wants to be that person. So we need to work on standing up tall. You know, a lot of times they especially kind of talk to women about not standing up tall, and if somebody sees a woman walking tall, oh, she's stuck up. No, she's not. She's proper. There's nothing wrong with that. Embrace it. You know, it's a part of the way you should walk. You know, a lot of people have what they call an upper cross syndrome. If you stand, when you stand up straight, your palms should face each other. Most of the time, people's palms rotate around. You know, you'll notice it because people have a tighter chest, weakness of the rhomboids, so they're starting to get that pull in the front. If you guys go to the gym at all, you see those guys that look like a bulldog that walk around like this, because all they do is chest, 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 chest. They don't work their backs.
Monday is Universal Chest Day at the gym, I think.
Yes.
Chest
Any
and
gym
biceps.
on this planet you walk in on a Monday, every bench press will be full, because all the guys want to work the man muscles.
And that's another reason why you want to learn to do it correctly, because a proper weight program, you'll learn to work all the muscles and keep your body balanced, instead of having that hunched over look, or, you know, it even goes with the legs versus with the quadriceps versus the hamstrings, the arms, biceps and triceps, and so on.
Got a couple other tools here. These kind of look a little funny. They look like little bats, but they're called club bells. These are fun. It's actually, I believe, an Indian form of exercise that's kind of made its way over here. They're not new. They're old. They're just as old as the kettlebells, which I'll show you here in a little bit. It's just certain things make a resurgence. You know, it's an old concept that gets brought back because people go back to the basics. I'm going to let James demonstrate a couple exercises with these, and I'm going to actually pass them around and let you guys get a feel for them. You know, most of us can pick up 5 pounds pretty easily. These are 5 pounds, and I will let you see how awkward that 5 pounds is. But, you know, this is just a simple exercise you can do, kind of work the shoulders a little bit. One of the good things I like about the club bells is it works on your stability in your arms and wrists and hands. You know, a lot of people get that carpal tunnel from the repetitive motions, things like that. These will actually help stabilize everything. So I'm not going to say it's going to prevent carpal tunnel, because it may not, but it'll help strengthen your hands and wrists and things like that.
Let me show the golf swing thing too.
If you're a golfer, don't use that form, but you can use that.
I was not a golfer.
You can use that device to help work on your golf swing. Whether you play baseball, you play softball, tennis. But one thing is, if you are going to work on one side, you better work on the other, because then you'll be unbalanced and you'll walk around like this all the time, because one side will be more fit than the other.
When you do those swings, you also work your oblique muscles, which are the side muscles on your torso that, well, when you see bodybuilders on stage, you see all those ripples down that side. That's what it is.
Right. Go ahead and pass that one on that side, and I'll let you guys kind of see. Yes, ma'am.
So are these weighted in a different way? Like if I just had 5-pound weights and I did the first thing that he did, jumping up.
You can still do them with a regular dumbbell. Those just make it slightly different. Every time, when you guys get them around, try to turn the bell up to the top and just feel how imbalanced that weight is. But that's what makes a difference, the imbalance.
Yeah, the conventional way with dumbbells, the equivalent exercise would be side laterals, where you're just doing this.
Mm-hmm. Or you can even do them the same way, where you bring them up to the top.
That's true.
And then just start down and just bring them down.
It just doesn't feel awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, laterals, you could do front laterals, you could do bent over laterals.
Right, and that helps work on the stabilizers. You know, a lot of the machines and everything will work on the major muscle groups, but a lot of the free weights and stuff, that helps work your stabilizers. Yes, ma'am?
Do you recommend like 15 reps or 10?
It depends on the individual and depends on what your individual goal is. You know, there's times where I'll do 25 reps of an exercise, but then there's also times where I'll do 3 to 4. Depends on if you're trying to build strength or endurance.
So if you wanted to do strength, is it better to do like three sets of 10 each?
Depending on your body type, muscle
You know what
fiber.
I'm asking you?
Yeah. Like, are you talking about for you specifically?
Well, or for anything. You know when you, like,
Yeah.
you're going to do, let's say this, or you're going to do this,
Uh-huh.
or anything. Do you think it's better to do sets of 10s or 15s and so many of them?
I think that's best on a case-by-case basis because everybody's body's going to react differently. Plus, you have to base it on people's fitness level. You know, if it's your first day in the gym, I'm not going to sit there and just do 8 to 10 reps because the weight's probably going to be too heavy and you're going to be so sore you'll run me down in the parking lot. So we may do 12 to 15 just to get your body acclimated to the movements. You know, you're going to get sore your first day in the gym. There's no question about it. If you didn't get sore, you didn't do it right. But, you know, if you get with a trainer, a smart trainer, I'm not just going to say a certified trainer, but you need a qualified trainer. Because I tell people all the time, and I'm sure you see it in your business, certified doesn't make you qualified.
I've seen trainers who don't know what the heck they're doing, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, best thing to do is every gym that has trainers, they'll give you at least one free visit. Use it. Because it's like buying a car. You know, if you bought your 16-year-old the top-of-the-line car in the world and they didn't know how to drive it, they're going to just tear it up and it's going to be a big waste of money. So you want to learn how to drive it before you get on the highway. You know, one of the biggest things I've seen in my 13 years at the gym, I see people that work out regularly and they don't actually train their body. So they work out, and never change. And then they get frustrated and they say, the gym doesn't work. No, the gym works just fine. You just didn't know how to utilize it. So it's knowing what to do that's going to get you there. You know, when I was growing up, I worked out like a beast. When I graduated from high school, I was the same height I am now and probably 30 pounds lighter because I had no clue what I was doing. But now that I know what I'm doing, you know, I have the weight, but it's good weight. You know, my waist is still the same size it was when I was in high school. But I'm 30 pounds heavier because I know what to do from the gym side as well as the nutrition side. You know, a lot of people think when they go to the gym, they can work out and still eat what they want. You're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, you actually have to eat right as well. You know, this is going to come from a trainer, and I'm being honest. Most of the work you're going to do is outside the gym. It's probably 80% of your results come from what you do at the table.
Eating right, getting the right amount of sleep, and so on. And just to further expand on your question, it also depends on your muscle fiber type too. It's like the difference between distance runners and sprinters. Different types of training are going to work for each of them. People who are more distance runner types, higher rep stuff tends to work more. Higher reps with lower weight, while guys who are more sprinters, who have more fast twitch muscle fiber, what tends to work is fewer reps with more weight and longer rest between sets. As a general guideline.
Yeah, if you're looking to grow a little bit, you know, and women, don't take this the wrong way because you're not going to get big and bulky unless you start doing steroids. Most women do not have enough natural testosterone to get big and bulky. Anytime you see women walking around with arms like mine, they're on something. Whether they tell you they are or not, they're on something. But you can lift. I had a woman that was 5'7", 135 pounds that benched 270 pounds. Yeah, so you can definitely get stronger without getting bigger. So don't be afraid of the weights. You know, the weight training is going to be very important when you can actually get to the gym because what it's going to do is when you do your cardio, you'll burn calories while you do it, and you'll continue to burn for a few hours afterwards. But when you put on that lean muscle mass, your body's going to work for you instead of you having to work for it all the time.
And you'll find that a lot of everyday tasks get a lot easier all of a sudden too. And I like to think that when a lot of people, yeah, they don't do weight training because like, oh, I don't want to have those big muscles. Well, aside from needing testosterone, you need to arrange your program a certain way to get bigger muscles like those guys you see in the magazines. And strength training, for women, there are benefits. It prevents osteoporosis. And obviously, when we all get older. When you get older, you start to lose muscle mass. And when you do resistance training of any kind, you're laying a foundation to keep your independence and your mobility when you get older.
Also, to play on that, you know, I have 3 daughters, and I understand how women want to do things themselves. You don't want to have to call a man for everything. So if you need to open a jar, you need to move something. My female clients, hands down, blow my male clients away because they are that stubborn. They're like, I'm not going to let this man beat me. We have a set of tires that we do because we do tire flips. We have the small tire that we call the women's tire. Then we had a medium tire, and then we have the big tire. We actually called the medium tire the men's tire because none of the guys could flip the big one. Well, now all the women flip the middle tire, and the guys can't flip the big one, so they're stuck on the women's tire now. So, yeah, I mean, women, you guys are a lot more stubborn than we are, so you guys will get better results. Guys may get them a little faster because guys tend to put on a little muscle faster, but when the women want it, you can't stop them. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop them. But a couple of things you guys can get for the home use. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of or seen a kettlebell. I'll show you the small version here. We've got them at our gym ranging from 4 pounds all the way up to 106. I actually have a 2-year-old daughter that likes to play with 10-pound kettlebells. Yeah, she's definitely my child. I couldn't deny her if I tried. But she'll walk in and she'll grab her kettlebells and she'll start doing squats. And then she'll walk up and go, here. So, James, I'll let you have that little guy.
You're so kind.
But just some basic things you can do with a kettlebell. I mean, you can do just a basic kettlebell squat. You know, we can do, they call what's called a snatch, where you'll have the kettlebell down and you just snatch it up, just like that. Nice, smooth motion. There's a couple other things you can do, just a simple row. You know, a row like this, I always like to keep the hand free because it forces you to use your core to stabilize yourself. But just a simple exercise like this is going to help strengthen those rhomboids to help pull that back for you. Kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. And then one that you see very common, you'll see this on The Biggest Loser. They do a basic swing where you can either swing here or you can swing it all the way up. And that's, again, it's going to cause you to use your core to keep you from doing a backflip. But it's going to work your shoulders, it's going to work your legs, it kind of works your whole body. You know, that's one of the things I really like about the kettlebells is you can work everything with them. You want to demonstrate the jump rope?
Oh, yes, of course. I should probably take this thing off while I'm...
Nice old school tool, good old fashioned jump rope. Some people can't jump rope. You can always mimic the motion. Nice and easy. You know, we've got a lot of clients that can't jump rope if you paid them $1 million. But we're going to see if James can still do it.
Yeah, I used to do this a lot when I was swimming in college, but...
So you can do just the basic jump rope like that. Yeah, right? You know, and if you guys have kids, just get out and do it with the kids. You know, it'll be just like playing with them. It is playing with them, but they're going to get a little exercise with it. You know, little things I used to do with my daughter. This is why she likes to work out. But when I'd go to get her out of her crib, she'd push herself up and hold up and wait for me. I'd stand back and let her do planks. I'm like, hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay. And then just pick her up. But just little things like that, you know, to make ourselves and the kids more active. Another simple one. Nice little resistant band. You know, if you go on vacation, you can throw them in your luggage. TSA won't get you for them. But You can do simple things, bicep curls. You know, if you have like a pole to wrap it around, I'll let you hold on to both sides. Make believe this is a pole, and you can do rows. You know, you can do simple things like that, or you can turn around and actually do more of a fly.
Oh yeah, those. Haven't done those in a while.
Just little things like that. You know, you don't have to go and spend ungodly amounts of money on exercise equipment for your home.
And you can also do some simple exercises to strengthen your shoulders too. Wanna show
Oh
them
yeah, the
rotator
stability.
Yeah, this is one of these where to strengthen your rotator cuff.
You typically wrap this around a pole or something.
Yeah, and you just do this. And you can do it with a dumbbell lying down flat on a bench too. But you want to make sure your whole body is completely in line. You don't want to sit there and be lying on your shoulder. I always like to do them with my arm down like this. And, well, that's one of the reasons why I can still do heavy bench press at 39. So,
another major component is flexibility. A lot of times, like with the big lifters and stuff, they're not very flexible because only part of Arnold's program that they remembered he did was lift weights. They didn't realize Arnold did yoga, Arnold did ballet. That's what made him the best. But, you know, flexibility is very, very, very important. We'll let James kind of demonstrate a little flexibility. Hopefully his pants don't rip. Which is amazing. You know, most guys are not very flexible at all. You know, and a lot of people think at my height that I'm not very flexible at all. But even though it's been a little while, you know, I'm still relatively flexible, which comes in handy playing first base in softball. But, you know, a lot of people think, oh, all you do is lift weights. No, I don't. I stretch. I do yoga. You know, I do hot yoga. I don't know if you guys ever done that. Amazing. It's about, probably, I want to say about 100 degrees in the room. You are definitely going to sweat, but it is the most amazing experience. If you ever get a chance to just take a class, just try it. You know, and there's a variety of different type of people in there. It's not just the little dainty people that you see taking yoga all the time. There's people with muscle, people without muscle, young, old, but it's a great experience and it's relaxing. You know, everything is all stress, tight, but it's so relaxing. So I recommend that you try it, and it will definitely help.
Yeah, stretching also helps prevent injury, and it helps your muscles recover too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
What can you tell us about what you would suggest in terms of implementing stretching daily? Because I know it's something I'm really bad about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing right or how much you can
Depends on your daily routine. I mean, sometimes I tell people, before your feet hit the floor, just do a little light stretching. Nothing major, just a little light stretching. You know, because you never really want to stretch a cold muscle. So another thing I'll tell people is as soon as you get out of a shower, stretch. You know, because you got that nice hot shower, or if you have a hot tub, you know, as soon as you get out, stretch. But you never, ever, ever want to stretch a cold muscle. You know, that's why I don't know if you ever been to a ball game early, you see the guys run in and then they stretch. That's exactly why. So you want to always warm up your muscle before you stretch. Another thing with stretching, I'm glad we brought this up, is you don't want to stretch before you lift weights. A lot of people want to stretch before you lift. You don't want to do that because it sends up your blockers and your receptors. So what you want to do is, if you want to do warm-up sets, that's great. Get those in. But do not stretch until afterwards. But again, you don't want to stretch the cold muscle, so always warm it up. So if you're going to go out on a run, maybe jog a little bit, loosen up, and then stretch. If it's a cold day, I would recommend, unless you're an avid runner, I would recommend not running outside on a cold day because you're more apt to cramp, tear something, or pull something. Even being in decent shape, I played a softball game, this is a few years back, and kind of cold day out. My legs were a little tight. I'm like, I'm young, I'll be fine. Start running down to first base, boop, hamstring went, because I didn't listen to my body. My body was not warmed up, and I was being stupid. And I won't do that again. And I hope that you won't. Learn from my mistakes. There's a reason we make those before you. What other questions? Anyone?
Well, I read too recently, they were saying even like for like pre-exercise stretching, like they're now saying that they're not necessarily seeing that there's as many benefits as they thought, and that sometimes it does open you up for injuries. Everything's kind of like loosened out.
Right.
You know, and I know you said for weights, but I'm thinking you're talking about even like running and other things like that. How do you warm up then? Just by doing the light activity?
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything if you do some light stretching before you run. Like I said, do maybe like a 5-minute warm up, and then just do some basic stretches. You don't want to do a full 20-minute routine of stretching beforehand. Save that for afterwards. But you definitely want to loosen everything up before you're going to run. Bad thing about the internet is you can find out everything you want. Also, the bad thing about the internet is everything you find good, you can find bad. So it can get very confusing and overwhelming to a lot of people. It'd be like me trying to go online and try to figure out how to try my own case. Yeah, I might get through one. But if I had to do it for a career, so yeah, I mean, the best bet is to ask somebody that you can actually come in contact with, because then that way they'll know your body, they'll know your routine, and then they can help you on an individual basis. Most of the stuff you find on the internet is just a blanket. It's a general, okay, here, take it as you will. But that's the thing about personal training. It makes it personal. Yes, sir.
What do you guys like to eat during before and after resistance workout?
Beforehand, I always like to get in, some type of good carb. That way you have plenty of fuel to get through your workout. And it depends on what's your ultimate goal. What are you looking to accomplish?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a distance runner. I'm a marathon coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been through the P90X course, and I'm thinking about the TRX bands and whatnot, and I'm wondering how. I'm afraid, because I work out very early in the morning, and I'm afraid that without getting in the right nutrition, I tend to plateau.
Right.
And before, I had heard that it wasn't good to eat beforehand because it might disturb the fat burning process, but I'm also finding out that that's probably a way for me to lose muscle mass as well. So I'm thinking I've got to eat something a lot more substantial before the lifting
Yes.
exercises.
The only time you can really get away with not eating before a workout is if you're going to do cardio, early morning cardio. Let me stress that. A lot of times people want to get up and go for a run just so they can burn that fat in the morning. But other than that, you've got to eat before your workout, because if you're training properly, you're probably going to pass out or throw up. But if you're going to do it in the morning, some oatmeal and some eggs, more so the egg whites than the egg yolks, so you don't get as much cholesterol. But that would be a good start of your day. And then go into your resistance training.
And with the meals, we tend to stay away, those of us who work out tend to stay away from the standard of 3 meals a day and divide our meals up more throughout the day. And the thing that I obviously eat breakfast and dinner at home, but I pack, I don't know how much whole wheat bread, tuna, and Greek yogurt and other things like that in the fridge at work so that I can have my lunch and my late afternoon snack beforehand.
Right. I went on a fishing trip yesterday with a buddy of mine. Brought my cooler with me. I had chicken breasts that I made. I had protein shakes, and I had rice cakes. He's like, "Who takes this fishing?"
You want to take this?
I do.
Want to show them this?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I waited to have my shake to get here just so you guys can see how convenient it is to bring a meal with you.
You just keep the powder in there?
Couple scoops of protein and pour some water in it, shake it up, and you're good to go. That's good for post-workout as well.
Because your body will kind of hyper-absorb it right after your workout, but then you want to have a meal. The guidelines usually around 45 minutes or so after you eat, which will about cover a time of, I usually go by the guideline, whatever time it takes for me to shower and cook dinner.
Yeah, you can usually, as long as you take in a good protein source within about 45 minutes to an hour, whether it be a shake or a meal, post-workout, it's going to allow your muscles to recover a lot faster. Usually during the day, you want to stay with like the whey proteins, or, I don't know if anybody's vegan or anything like that. You can go with the hemp protein, or guys definitely want to stay away from soy, whether it be in your protein, your almond milk, whatever it is. Stay away from the soy because it'll raise your estrogen levels, which a lot of people don't know. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is true or not. This is probably one of those things that you heard somebody tell you this, so you go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But last time I bought muscle milk from the GNC store, the guy was like, "Oh, try to have a lot of PB&J sandwiches if you're trying to build muscle, lifting weights." I just, that sound. I don't know what to think.
Do you want my personal opinion on GNC?
Yeah.
I think they're idiots.
Yeah, you don't know how many times.
Listen to them for,
The reason being is they just take a couple knuckleheads and put them behind the counter that have no knowledge.
I thought of the guy, but I'm curious.
One of my female clients, she's 5'3", 120 pounds. She came to him to get some protein. They gave her a mass gainer that I wouldn't take. And I'm like, you either give that to some guy or some woman you don't like.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
they
you
do is
definitely want to pay attention to your sources. I shouldn't really blanket GNC like that. It's just every person I've ever come across that worked for GNC is like that, and they always push the GNC products. So,
Or the more expensive products.
yeah, well, they all get a commission on the GNC products, so that's why they like to get, use this GNC brand, this GNC there and that. But there's other things you can do, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. A friend of mine in a weekend gained 12 pounds from eating nothing but peanut butter and jelly. So I would recommend not doing that unless you're just trying to put on weight. He wasn't happy with himself by Monday. Yes, it is all sugar.
What do you think about the circuit strength training machines at the gym? How would you use those?
It depends on which circuit it is. And circuit training it has its ups and downs. Circuits can be good for a little while. If it's a fixed machine circuit, it might be good for about 4 weeks, and then your body will need to change. But typically you want to work each muscle group, but you also, more importantly, need to rest each muscle group. Myself and my training partner at the gym, right now we're doing a 2 week of circuit training, but our circuit consists of kettlebells, tires, battle ropes, a bunch of different functional training modalities. And then next week, we're going back to the basics: chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, shoulders. We're splitting up the muscle groups so we can rest them. This is just an endurance thing that we're doing right now. If you're just first getting started into the gym, or you're getting restarted into the gym, a circuit's great because it kind of slowly wakes up your whole body. If you're just getting into the gym and you go through a chest and tricep workout, you probably will be feeling those areas for about 4 days. So you want to just kind of ease into it. So that's a good ease into.
So other than aerobic exercise, you can't just stay on the circuit forever, just always maybe increasing the weight level.
Yeah, well, you want to move off onto something else. It's kind of like, this may be a bad example, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's like when you first start drinking. You drink a beer, get a buzz. Then it takes 3. Then it takes a 6-pack. Then it takes a 12-pack. But if you do a shot of whiskey, puts you on your back. So you got to give your body that shot every once in a while. You have to mix it up. Like with the P90X, they talk about the muscle confusion. That's not new. All it is changing your routine. So that's all you have to do is just change your routine.
Every few weeks, I always switch up my routine. Like I'll go from doing bench press with barbell, the dumbbell, to machine, and I switch that up with each of my exercises in my workout. And I'll actually switch I do, for example, both flat bench and incline, which most people do who work out. And I'll switch the order of my exercises. I'll do incline first instead of flat bench, and so on. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, too, that Dave and I both, this has been going around, too. One thing they've discovered, if you're not able to do your cardio in the morning, there have actually been studies that show that if you do resistance training before you do your cardio, your body's going to tap into the fat cells sooner during your cardio workout.
And another thing with the cardio, you don't have to run. I don't like running. I don't run unless I'm being chased. You know, there's a reason I lift a lot of weights and I do bodyguard work, so there's a reason I got licensed to carry a gun. I don't like to run. You know, I do my cardio with my kettlebells and my tires, and then when I'm doing the circuit that I'm doing right now, we do it on a Tabata timer. So we do a minute of work, 20 seconds of rest. So, I mean, if you're going like that, you really don't need to do the traditional cardio. Can I run you down? Absolutely. Can I get away from you? Absolutely. But I'm not going to run a marathon with you. No way. No way.
I'm going to start demoing some more stuff.
Yeah. James is going to demonstrate, you know, of all the gimmicks that I found on TV, that's probably my favorite, the perfect push-ups.
Yeah. Because you got your normal push-ups just like...
you can do the standard push-up.
These make them more interesting. I'll get to those in a minute.
Yeah.
You can rotate the handles and it really changes the feel. And you get more range of motion with these too. Mm-hmm. I mean, the rotating, I really like that. But, oh, you want me to do the fingertip ones, don't you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
The iron cross push-ups. But the average person, we know, can't necessarily get down and drop and get you 20 push-ups. But simple progressions you can do, you can just start on the edge of a table. You know, you can just be here. You know, or you can do
knees,
what they call the women's push-up, but I just call a modified push-up because I have some of the guys do it.
Yeah. You can also do close grip push-ups.
The close grips, that's going to work a lot more the tricep area.
Here's a little variation I have.
The wider you go, the more it'll actually work into your chest. You actually get a good back workout in there as well. You know, if you ever watch anybody do push-ups, you know, with a tank top or without a shirt, you can see just about every muscle in that upper back flex. So good thing about the push-ups is it doesn't just work your chest like most people think it does. You know, it works your chest, it works your triceps, it works your shoulders, it works your back, it works your core. So, you know, that's why it's such a utilized exercise in the military.
After starting on the table, where would you go next?
From the table, you can actually go down onto your knees, you know, and do them that way. And then you can slowly start working back, you know, until you can get up on those toes.
Bench dips?
Yeah. You can do what's called a bench dip. And what that's going to do is it's going to work your triceps. And if you're not quite to that progression, go ahead and demonstrate them again. Minus this, put your feet flat on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
You can go there, or you can bend your knees, put your feet flat. And then that way it'll make it a little bit easier for you. So there's all kinds of modifications you can do for everything. You know, a lot of times if you go in with a trainer in certain places, you know, like I said, not everybody's qualified, but they're going to show you the hardest form possible just so you fail. But we're going to show you every single step. We're going to show you the easier version. They're going to show you the harder version. Obviously, I'm going to start you on the harder version because I'm going to keep that easy one in my pocket just in case you can do the harder way. But if you can't, what's that? Yeah. If you can't do that, then we'll go to the easier version. Yes, ma'am.
Let's say you are lucky if you get to a gym twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say your aim is to get in and out as quickly as you can. So let's say, I'm not talking about myself.
Right. A friend you know of a friend. Yeah.
So let's say you have 20 to 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
What would you recommend? To do weights, to just get on the treadmill for 15 minutes?
I would recommend you do weights first. Always when you go to the gym, do weights first. Because you're going to, in the long run, you're going to get more out of your weight training. So you can always supplement your cardio at home. So if you can't get to the gym, you can run around the block. You can do jumping jacks in your living room. You can do a Jane Fonda tape, whatever it takes. But you can do your cardio at home, but you can't supplement the weights that you have at the gym at home. So.
And so if you know how they'll have a whole bunch of your arms and a whole bunch of your legs,
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of this. Is it better to just do one of each, or if you've got time, do two of each, you know, or concentrate on just arms and legs?
I would, if you're only doing 2 days, I would do probably an upper body, lower body split. So, you work the upper half one day, lower half the another day. What gym do you go to?
I joined the Mercy downtown here.
Okay.
Atrium.
I would ask somebody there for help. And they haven't given it to you?
No, they did.
Oh.
I'm getting a second.
It depends on them. Yeah. But the best thing is knowing what to do while you're there. When I used to work at I worked at the FitWorks over in Florence, and I had a lot of pilots and stewardesses, and they were gone all the time. So we had to design programs for them to do in their hotel room, while they're waiting in the airport, things like that. So we had all kinds of different things that people could do without accessing the gym. But in your case, I would suggest doing a 2-day split, upper body, lower body, and then every other day you can get some cardio in, get it in.
Where does yoga fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just considered a sandwich that in between kind of for?
Yeah, it's not necessarily your weight training. It's not necessarily your cardio. It's its own entity, but it's phenomenal, and I recommend everybody do it. You can do that at home. Once you learn the movements, I wouldn't recommend just getting a DVD and trying to do yoga at home, because you'll probably do something improper. You could possibly hurt yourself. So whether you take a class or two just to learn the basics, do that. And then if you want to get that DVD or, YouTube something, that's fine, do that. But just make sure you have that form proper. Form is the key to everything. One of the main things people like to do is lunges. And lunges with bad form can end up bad. Or you won't get the results that you're looking for. James is actually going to demonstrate lunges here. One of the keys with the lunges, again, like I said, with the squats, you want to make sure your knee stays behind the tip of your toe. So when you stride out, you're coming down. You want to stop right before your knee touches the ground. And you can do
them either stepping forward, walking lunges, or they step back.
Right. There's all kinds of different lunges you can do. You can do side lunges. Yeah, you can do them with dumbbells.
Yeah. If you want to add a little extra weight, keep your back straight.
Uh-huh. And I will tell you, anybody that wants to work on your butt, that will do it. And I can tell you exactly where it's going to hurt, because there's that certain lunge mark that gets you right across the glutes. But you can do forward lunges, and then you can also do backward lunges. And it just works your muscles in a different way. I recommend everybody try them forward first. The ones backwards take a little more work, a little more practice. The battle ropes, I mentioned these a little bit earlier, and James gets to test these out. They're fresh out of the box.
Oh, thanks. You're so
see.
generous. Need these to anchor?
Yeah. A couple of the fun things you can do with the battle ropes. Yeah. I'm going to let James show you guys a couple of the exercises here.
I actually don't do these regularly.
And you can do kind of a half squat and just what they call a flutter. Go ahead and squat down just a little bit. There you go. And just do a basic flutter. And then you can also take them in and out. What's that?
With the squat.
With the squat, yeah.
Gee, thanks.
Just doing that hover right there is going to work the legs really nice.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going to work your core. It's going to work your shoulders. It's going to work your chest. It's going to work your back. Anybody want to give them a shot? Come on. Come on up.
Cheers.
There we go.
You don't have to do it with the squat if you don't want.
How heavy are those? They look kind of thick.
Come here.
It's not as hard as you think.
Come on up. That's not bad. Okay. And just flutter. Keep your arms nice and straight and just chop them straight. Come toward me. Come toward me just a little bit. There you go. Just chop your arms up and down, just like Daniel's son, paint the fence.
Yep.
There you go.
And one of the points we're trying to
take 'em in
teach
and
here,
out.
too, it's not as hard as it looks. So, Dimity. Come on, Dimity.
It works your core, it works your shoulders, and then when you add that squat, it definitely hits those legs a little bit as well. But it's not that bad. Just something different. You know, I mean, that's one of the things with the functional training. Functional training is very different. You know, you see a lot of people doing like the CrossFit now. I like some of the CrossFit exercises. I don't like the whole mentality of CrossFit because they do everything to failure, which to me, when you've got weight over your head, you don't want to fail. But, you know, I like the fact of where you do, I don't know if you guys ever seen the CrossFit. If you ever get a chance on ESPN, CrossFit is, it's a style of training where they do the tire flips, they do kettlebells, they do pull-ups, they do burpees, deadlifts. They do a variety of different style of exercises, but they've actually compiled them into what they call the CrossFit Games. And they show them on ESPN2 a lot. But I recommend you guys just watching it one time. And if you get a chance, watch the women, because they're more impressive than the men.
Also that CrossFit place on 7th Street, right?
Yeah, there's a CrossFit place down here.
That's where my parking garage is, so I see them every day doing all that stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I love the CrossFit exercises. We do a lot of them at our gym. Just, we can't call them CrossFit because nobody's CrossFit certified. But I'm not going to pay $1,000 to teach somebody how to flip a tire. Sorry. You know, the exercises are the exercises, but they're fun, and those games are really fun to watch. But you will be amazed at what these women are capable of doing. You know, they've got women that'll do what's called a snatch, where you take weight and you snatch it above your head, 190 pounds. And these women are like 5'3", $140. I'm like, you're tossing more than your body weight above your head. And they do it like it's nothing. But again, that'll show you how much stronger these women can get. And I'll tell you, these women are ripped. You know, they all have six packs and all that stuff, but they train like absolute animals. So, I mean, it's just something fun to kind of take a look at. Yes, sir?
How would you set up your goals? I mean, it's just not repetitions, it's just not weight, it's just not weight loss.
Right.
What do you set up your goals at?
It depends on the individual. You know, I mean, one of the things we always like to do with our new people to the gym is we sit down with you and help you. We find out what your long-term goal is, and then we set short-term goals. So you have something to attain every 4 to 6 weeks to keep you on track. You know, like, what would your long-term goal be? You know, longevity. You just want to live a nice, healthy life. Perfect. That's how most of our clients are. So what we would do is we would do a body fat analysis with you, and then, you know, we would use that to start basing it on. One of the things I dislike about the fitness medical industry is the BMI. BMI is the dumbest thing ever created, in my opinion.
Under that thing, I'm overweight.
Yeah, I'm obese. Okay, not. But, you know, that's why we go by the way you look, the way you feel, and your body fat percentage.
And not how much you weigh specifically either.
Right.
Because a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people when they get started on a fitness program, they're putting on muscle at the same time, which is a natural part of a fitness program. They're like, I'm not losing this weight, but they're going down pant sizes and so on and making very good progress, but they get frustrated with the scale. The scale really doesn't mean much at all. It's your body composition, or if you want to call it, your fitness level.
Right. You know, I've seen some people that are very thin and horribly unhealthy. You know, I mean, I had a woman, she was just about as thin as anybody that's ever walked into my gym. But she, from a body fat standpoint, was more unhealthy than any overweight person I've ever seen walk in the gym. Her body fat almost did not measure on our reader, and our reader stops at about 50%. She was about 48%. And she only weighed, she probably weighed about 150 at 5'5" maybe. So, I mean, that's not a big woman at all, but she had no muscle, none, and she ate like garbage. So I tell people all the time, don't let the fact that somebody's thin fool you, because one of our biggest clients, she's the most fit person in our gym, hands down. But she's also lost 70 pounds that people don't realize. So you can't judge a book by its cover. You know, so you have to just work on getting fit. Not fit for being 50, 60 years old, not fit for having 3, 4 kids, fit, period. There's no need to put an asterisk after it. You know, I mean, at 30, almost 37 years old now, you know, I get people all the time, oh, don't you feel old? No, because I'm in better shape than most of the people your age.
But, you know, as far as goal setting, one thing that I personally do, obviously, this is with a lot of other guys, people I work out with too, maybe you want to do a certain number of repetitions with a certain weight on a certain exercise. And then obviously when you get to that point, then you raise the bar. Okay, now I want to get the same number of reps with 10 pounds more. And then with my cardio, I also have little goal settings too, where I try to, I do the sit-down bike, I do the bike, stationary bike, and I've found it's nice to challenge myself on that by trying to cover more distance in the same amount of time with the same pulse rate. Mm-hmm. You want to set those little challenges for yourself, and go beyond just longevity, because then it makes it more fun for you, makes it more interesting, and it keeps you into it, and you'll get more out of it.
Are you currently going to the gym now?
Yeah, I go 3 to 5 times.
3 to 5 times a week? Okay. What's your typical routine?
I run, if it's my run day, I'll run for 2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do my abs.
Okay.
If it's my non-run day, I'll run to warm up, and then I'll do a series of dumbbells, barbells.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a set routine on your weights?
I change it out. I was working with a trainer.
Uh-huh.
She set me up for a routine, and then I would take her routine and work it every week,
Mm-hmm.
every other day.
Mm-hmm.
I work with her once a month.
Gotcha. Okay. Your first goal may be to set a routine for yourself, a weight training routine, and follow it for a month. You know, set it, stick to it, follow it, and improve on what you set weight-wise, and that could be your first goal. Something nice and simple, something attainable. You know, for those of us that don't go to the gym, if you want to start going to the gym, make your first goal. I want to go to the gym, do 3 days of weight training, and do anywhere from 4 to 7 days of cardio. You know, but start it on a simple side. Start at something realistic. You know, most of us can make it to the gym 3 days, or we can exercise 3 days. Even if you can't make it to the gym, you can exercise 3 days. You know, it only takes, our weight training sessions are a half hour. So you can get a nice complete workout in a half hour. Cardio-wise, you can do anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, depending on what kind of time frame you have. But in an hour and 15 minutes, you can get in and out of the gym. You know, we always want to say, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Your health is the one thing you have to be selfish about, because without you healthy, everything else is irrelevant. You know, my daughter is my world, but if I'm not healthy, what good am I? I'm just a life insurance policy. Yes, ma'am.
How should one utilize a personal trainer?
Listen to them. No, I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you. Do you go to a gym now?
I do.
Okay. What gym do you go to?
The why.
The Y? Okay. And do they have trainers there? Our average client sees us probably about twice a week. You know, I mean, a lot of times it boils down to cost. So, I mean, if you can only afford to get in with a trainer once a week, do it, because they're still going to design everything else for the rest of the week for you, or at least they should. If they don't, tell them they need to. But they should be able to lay everything out for you. Like I said before, the biggest thing is knowing what to do in the gym. You know, if for some reason you can't afford a trainer, if you can get a plan to go by and get a workout partner, you know, you're 85% better results with a workout partner and or a trainer, because you have somebody to hold you accountable, and then you have somebody to help you through those extra couple reps. You know, that's one of the main things that we are here for, and, you know, the workout partners are here for, because you have that accountability and you get that extra push. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you, what does the trainer do each session? Do they monitor your progress?
We're gonna monitor your progress. We're gonna design your program. We're gonna make sure you're doing your program properly, and we're going to push you through each session. Because it's human nature, people stop at mental fatigue. So we're going to take you past that mental fatigue into the part where you're going to see your results. Like the one client I spoke of that was our most fit client. She came to me, oh God, this was about 2 months ago. And she said, Dave, I can't run 6.0 on the treadmill. So I said, okay. So that day we ran 6.0 on the treadmill. 5 weeks later, she ran at 14 miles an hour on the treadmill. I'm like, remember you told me you couldn't do 6.0? You're running at 14 miles an hour. So yeah, we're going to give you that extra push and that motivation.
And how many weeks should one do a trainer? Forever? 3 months?
Our average client does 12 months. You know, statistically, they say it takes about 6 months to form a habit. So for that first 6 months, we get you in the habit of exercising at the level you should. And then for that next 6 months, then we start showing you how and when to start changing your routine. And then at the end of that 12 months, some of them actually stay with us, but some of them will back it down and just check in with us periodically just to make sure they're staying on the right track.
Dave and Jim, I want to thank you both so much. I know a few people may have to leave, but if you're available for some more questions.
Yeah.
But if you all join me in thanking them for their time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.